Hi guys, so today I want to show you how I made this faceted diamond vertical easel card. So basically it folds flat like that, and then you just pop it over like you did with the vertical easel card, and then it's got a faceted like diamond section in the middle. So that's the card. Basically that's the one I did with snowflakes. Obviously you've got space, you can either write in there if you want to, or I probably would write on the back personally. Got a whole big space on the back where you could write. So that's one of them I've done. And then this was another one that I did. Silent Night. Obviously got the little trees and stuff. So yeah, so that's what we're going to be making today. So this basically, it is my original design, but it's borrowed from two other designs. So take from that what you will. So basically, obviously the vertical easel card, and also the faceted, obviously this fold here inside is kind of not unusual. This has been done before. So yeah, it's kind of a bit of a mishmash of two different things really. But I haven't seen one like this before, so it is my original design. I haven't copied anybody else. I've just sort of blended two folds together. Okay, so let's get started. So for this card, you will need a 5 3/4 by 5 3/4 inch card blank. So that's a card that opens up. If you haven't got that, then you just need to get a 5 3/4 by 11.5 inch card, and then just score it in the middle at 5 3/4. So you also need two mats that are 5.5 by 5.5, and also one pattern that is 5 1/4 by 5 1/4, and then you also need two other pieces of pattern paper. So I've gone with the same as I had on the front, and this one measures 1 3/4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so you need that in the pattern. Then you need another pattern piece. Now I've actually managed to find this. This was out of a cheap paper pad I had a couple of years back now, but these greetings are just the right size. I've had to show a tiny bit off right and left, but they're pretty much bang on. Excuse if you hear noise in the background, my neighbours are throwing stuff out, so just bear with us. But this needs to be 3 1/4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so that's your other pattern piece. As I said, with my original one, I didn't have that. So as you can see, I used the trees, but I'm going to put that here on the card I'm doing today. Okay, and then you just need some kind of greeting as well. You'll also need some kind of die cut element for the beginning, the front, and you also need a piece of acetate that's about 1/2 inch tall by about 5.5 inches wide. Okay, and then whatever decoration. Now, for the front, just going to go through this now quickly. For the front, I've tried different ways of cutting the pattern paper to fit the front and then the inside. Okay, now this way that I've done here, I actually use squares and cut them in half diagonally and fix them on. This one looked okay. I didn't mind that too much, but I had a big gap here. This one was my first one, and they overlapped a bit, and you can see the acetate, and I wasn't that happy with it. So we're going to do it a slightly different way. One of my craft ladies also suggested another way, using a square, and you cut it in such a way that you end up with this triangle and the outer triangle. And I did try that, and it kind of worked, but it wasn't as even as I wanted it to be, and that's probably my fault, not her idea. Her idea did work well. However, I'm not going to do it that way this time. I'm going to do it the way we did the hexagonal, the faceted hexagonal card, which I'll try and put a link in so you can go back and see it. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm just going to put all these bits to one side for now. Okay, so take your card blank, open it up and lay it down, and you want to score at 2 7/8. Okay, and you're doing it along the long edge like that. Okay, now we don't need the scoreboard anymore, but you do need your score tool, and you will also need a corkboard and a ruler. Okay, so once you've got your corkboard and your ruler, what you're going to do is you're going to go down. We'll start with, I'm going to turn it round so it's now portrait, so you've got the long edge as the left and right side, so it's like this. And then what you're going to do is along the top, you're just going to make a mark at 2 7/8. Okay, and you're going to do the same along the center fold. So you're going to make a mark at 2 7/8. Okay, then along this 2 7/8 score line that you've done on the front card, you're going to make a mark at 3/4 of an inch down from the top and 3/4 of an inch up from the bottom. So basically, if you lay your ruler on, you're marking at 3/4 of an inch and at 5 inches. Okay, then what you want to do is turn your card around, line up your 2 dots, and you're going to make a mark again at 3/4 of an inch and at 5 inches. Okay, and you're going to draw a line between those two. Okay, like that. So you've kind of got a cross because you've got the down score line and then the across pencil line. So next you want to take your ruler and your score tool, and you're going to score from that point there up to there. So you're basically joining all these points up to make a square, basically a diamond, a square on its angle. It's not technically a diamond, but you know what I mean. So we're going to score that. Okay, so you should end up with that. Hopefully you can see that. Now, one thing you do need to make sure is that you do quite a good score line, because in a minute we're going to be folding along these, and if you haven't quite pressed enough, it's going to cause you trouble. Right, so if you fold down your 2 7/8 score line down the middle, fold down there, and give it a bit of a burnish, trying not to flatten the lines you've just scored. And then you want to take a pair of scissors. If you want, you can use a craft knife and a metal rule, or you can do it on your little trimmer if you want to. And you're just going to cut down that pencil line till you reach the edge of that, you know, with your fold lines. Okay, so that's what you're left with. So if we just fold our card up a second. Okay, if you want to, you can go ahead and rub out your little pencil lines that you've got, your little marks on the edges. Okay, so that's what you've now got. So now what you want to do is you can get rid of your cork board, and you're now going to very gently push these 2 triangles in, so these end up being mounting folds. So you're going to push them in, and just be careful at the top here. You want to make sure that definitely goes in. So I would just do the top one bit and then do the bottom bit after. I'm hoping this is loud enough. I'm filming all this on my new phone, so it's a little bit of a different way around to how I normally have it. So it's all a bit weird because I can't see what's happening. So you'll have to bear with me. So we're going to give that a good crease down. Now, if it goes a little bit, you might find that when you come to this bit, it goes a little bit wobbly. You just need to tell it where it needs to be. So when you fold it flat, just make sure that obviously it doesn't, you know, it doesn't crease. One of my cards, it creased at the top here. So you just have to be a bit careful with that. And then the same on the bottom. So just bend it in gently like that. And then just make it go where it needs to go so it lies flat. So that's there like that, and there like that. Okay, so you should end up with your faceted bit on the front. So now what we're going to do is we're going to just fold it in half so it's like that, and we're going to bring in one of the matte pieces. Okay, so this is the 5.5 by 5.5. This piece is going to go on the inside, and it's just going to go there. We're going to stick that down now because then that's out of the way and we won't worry about accidentally cutting something or sticking, you know, whatever. So we're going to go ahead and stick this down now. Okay, so next what you want to do is take whatever pattern piece you have that's going to be going on this side here, and you can go ahead and stick that down. So obviously just make sure you've got an even border on the top, the bottom and the left hand side. Okay, so you should end up with that. Now, your other little piece, your 1 3/4 by 5 1/4, will go next to it here. However, you don't want to add that just yet because you're going to be putting that on foam tape. Okay, so we're going to do that after. We're not going to do that now. I don't have any foam tape, and if you're like me, you don't have any foam tape, you can use funky foam. So that's what I'm going to use. So I've got a bit of funky foam here that's just 1/8 short of 1 3/4 by 5 1/4. So it's about 5 1/8 by 1 5/8. I think that's right. Yeah, so I just made it just slightly smaller, as you can see. So it's got a slightly smaller gap around the outside. So that is going to go on the back of there, and it will go here. But we're not going to stick it down yet because we need to sort the front out. So put that to one side. You'll need that shortly. Right, so what we want to do now is if we turn this over, we need to start decorating the front. So, as I said previously, I have tried doing it with squares and things. However, I've not had a great deal of success with that. So I thought what we'd do is we'd try and do it the way that we did the hexagonal one. So I'm going to lay this on. Now this is obviously 5 1/2 by 5 1/2. So I'm going to cut it in half at 2 3/4, just down the middle, okay? Okay, so I've cut that down the middle at 2 3/4, like that. Okay, and that's okay. I mean, if you wanted to, I might actually trim a tiny bit more off it. I might just trim just literally like 1/8 off it on off both of the long sides, just because I kind of think I'd quite like a border, because I've got a nice border here, here, and here, but obviously in the middle it's going to be butted up to the edge. So I think I might do a border and actually make a feature of it. So I'm going to take like 1/8 off it. Okay, so that's 1/8 taken off both of the sides, so that's better. I've got a bit of a more even gap all the way around now. So now what I'm going to do is one at a time, and again, as I said, there are different ways you can do this, but this is just the way that I think is going to work the best. You're going to take your panel. Now I need a bit of washi tape. So take a bit of washi tape, and what you're going to do, lay your card into position, and I would just tape it at the top here and the bottom there. Now make sure your washi tape is the sort that doesn't tear. That's very important. Then we're going to open this up like that and turn it over. And then in pencil, just draw it on the back along where your aperture line is, like that. Okay, and then very carefully remove your panel and your washi tape. Okay, like this. Keep your washi tape for a moment because you're going to need it in a minute. And then if you just turn this over, just make sure you know which way up it is, because it may be that your folds are slightly different. So just make sure you know which way around it is. So that's the way it's come off, like this. And then what you want to do is you're going to take your ruler, and the same gap that you had all the way around, you're going to just draw a line again just outside of this line, okay? Because that will be your cut line. If you want to just go straight ahead and cut, you can, but I'm going to draw it first. So draw that in like that, and the same on this side. There we go, more or less like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my other piece, and I'm going to put it so that the two pattern sides, well, the coloured sides, are together. I'm going to fasten it at the top and fasten it at the bottom, and then I'm just going to cut the two out together to save myself some bother. Right, so I'm going to use a Stanley knife and a metal rule. Now before you cut out, if you want, you could put your tape on, and actually I'm going to do that just because of the angles that we have. So I'm actually going to put tape on first. Now if you've drawn your pencil thick enough, you should be fine. You'll be able to see through it. and also because I'm using Miri card as well, that's another reason I want to do it. The triangle that's in the middle, this one here, we will be using that triangle, so that is not going to be wasted. Okay, so I've just put tape along the top and the bottom. I'm not going to bother the middle, I'll have to do that later. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to cut along those lines. Okay, so once you've cut your middle section out, you want to keep these triangles because you'll need those, and you can now take the washi tape off the other pieces. Just do it carefully so don't tear it. Obviously this is the wrong side that you're going to be sticking down anyway, so it doesn't matter too much, but just be careful anyway. So we'll peel that off. Okay, now hopefully this should then fit really nicely on the front of your card. Yeah, perfect. So this is definitely the way I would definitely do it. This bit here is a little bit not quite right there. It's a little bit off, but it's not that bad. I'm quite pleased with that. So what we're going to do now is, before we stick it on, we're going to take these two. Let's just move this to one side. Take your big piece, so your 5 1/4 by 5 1/4 piece of pattern paper, and you're going to lay that on so that it's got a border top, bottom and on the left. And again, actually before we do that, we're going to cut this in half. So we're going to again cut this in half. So it's 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. So you need to cut that in half. I would actually cut that at 2 1/2 and make 2 panels that are 2 1/2 by 5 1/4. Actually, I think that's probably better. Yep, as you can see, I've got a very tiny. I could probably do with taking a tiny bit more off actually, but I think I might leave it as it is. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to make sure I've got them the right way around. So obviously I've got like a left and a right. Okay, now obviously I didn't tape that one, but I should have done, but I didn't. So what we're going to do is going to put that to one side. Now this has I've tried to marry this up so that it says Christmas, Santa, Snow, so that all the words carry on perfectly. So I need to remember which goes on which side. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this one here, I'm going to lay it on and get it in the right place like that. I'm actually going to trim a little bit more. I'm going to trim 1/8 off this because it is a little bit too big. It is a bit of trial and error with this, I have to say, so that's better. I'm happy with that. This one here, again, I'm going to take a tiny piece off it. Okay, so that works there. Right, so now what we're going to do is going to use that washi tape again, and I'm just going to lay it on as if it's going on the front, sort of normally. And then we're going to just attach this on. Now I've got to be careful here because I don't want to tear my paper. I'm going to lay that on like that, and then turn it over, and then we're going to draw a line like that. And we're going to very carefully remove our washi tape. Okay, so I know that's my left and that's my right. Okay, so I'm just going to put those, in fact I'm going to write on them, on the back of them, right and left, just so I don't forget. I'm going to do the same on this one so I don't forget which is my left and my right. So this is my left, this is my right, and then what we're going to do is the same thing we did with this one. We're going to put them so the pattern is facing each other like that. Connect it at the top and connect it at the bottom. And then we're going to draw a line. See, I've gone slightly out here for some reason, but anyway, it's fine. We're going to draw a line just on the outside of that line we've already got. So we've already got a line here, so we're going to draw on the outside of that. And then we're going to cut that section out, that triangle out. am going to quickly put a line of tape just down here before I do it on both sides, because of that, that's very close. Okay, now again, if you want to, you can keep these triangles. It's up to you. I'm probably going to do something different in the middle, but I might use the same again. I'm not sure. Then you're going to take your tape off. And then these, hopefully, should fit nicely on your mats. Yeah, they do. I'm pleased with that. That's probably the best I've seen. So I'm going to go ahead now and stick the pattern onto the mat. Okay, so once you've done that, now as you saw, you probably saw, I don't know if you saw, I noticed, I went and I added that tape there, but I forgot to add tape on the rest of it before I stuck it down. So I used some glue, but unfortunately it took the sheen off my mirror at the top there. But anyway, never mind. So anyway, we've got our two pieces. Now, if you bring your card back in, let's just put those to one side. So they are going to go on the front. Before you do any kind of sticking those down, you want to sort out your triangles, and you also want to do the acetate strip. So we're going to do the little triangles now. So I'm going to use obviously the mat that I already have here, and I'm just going to cut these. I'm actually going to cut this down so that we have a centre that is, it needs to be about 2 and I would say about 2 1/4 inch square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go along here and mark at 2 1/4 there, go along there and mark at 2 1/4 there. Obviously, if you want to cut yourself a little 2 1/4 inch square and then cut it into 4, you're very welcome to do that. I just don't want to waste good card, especially not mirror card. So now I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so I've managed to cut all my 4 triangles out of those 2 triangles that I took out of the middle piece here. So what you need to do now is just go ahead and tape them. Okay, so once you've stuck your triangles down, like I have here, got a bit of glue on them, but anyway, I'll go and clean that off in a bit. You then want to add in your acetate strip. Okay, so your acetate strip is going to go across the front like that. Mine's a little bit long actually, I need to trim mine down a tiny bit. And you're going to make sure that the cut line is central on your acetate strip. So this is going to go on like that, and I've got, as you can see, that the cut line actually goes through the centre of the acetate strip. So I'm going to put a tiny bit of tape just on either end. Just cut it, if yours is a little bit long, because 5 1/2 might not be quite the right size. I'm not quite sure really, it depends on, depends on your card. You're just going to put a tiny bit of acetate, just red tape, just underneath at the end of your acetate strip. You can see my acetate strip. My tape's a little bit too long, but it's fine because I'll just fold it back on itself. So I'm going to go ahead now and stick that down. Okay, so that's stuck down. So when that opens, that bows forward like that, but obviously it folds flat for posting. So now we're going to go ahead and stick down our front pieces. So these are going to go over there like that, and it's going to hide where you've joined your acetate. Okay, and because you've done this the way you've done it, you then won't see where the tape is. So that's a good thing. Okay, so once you've done that, you should end up with that. So when that opens, and also if you've got like a little sentiment thing like I have there, then when your window opens, you can actually see it through the window, which is rather cool. One of my craft ladies discovered this, and I thought I like that idea. So yeah, so that's that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and stick the embellishment on the front. Now I've got these little snowflakes that stack up together. So I'm going to go ahead and stick those on the front, just making sure that I only stick them on the very centre of the acetate. Okay, you don't want to stick it all the way along. If you want it to bow round, then you can, but it might impede the bowing action of the acetate. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick that on. I'm going to stick a little bit of tape just in the middle there, and then stick my snowflake on. Okay, so that's the front of my card done. So now all we've got to do is just open it up, and we've got to stick this piece here in. So obviously you take your pattern paper. If you've got foam tape, use foam tape. I don't have, so I'm using, as I said before, funky foam. So I'm just going to put 2 lines of tape front and back on here, stick it onto my piece of paper, and then stick it onto my card. The other advantage with funky foam is that because obviously I am actually using, you know, pattern paper, not pattern card, so this isn't that, it's got a reasonable weight. It's probably about a 200 GSM, so it's not too bad. But if I was to put a line there and a line there with a gap in the middle, you have got, you know, the option that it might bow. But this way it's fully supported, so funky foam is quite good if you want something like this, because this is going to act as a stopper. Then this might be a good way of doing it. I'm actually going to turn it around and do it that way because this is smaller than the paper. And then we're going to put some more tape on this and stick it into position. Okay, so that acts as your stopper. So then when you get your card and you put it up, that's then your stopper. So I'm just going to go ahead, add a few gems. I might add a little greeting on the outside here, just so we've got something. And then that's basically your card done. Okay, so I've just finished off. I just simply put a little gem in the middle, and then I've just put a little greeting at the bottom there. And so that's my card. So that stands up like that, stands up really nicely. You can also do this card, and I was thinking about doing a video for it, but it's literally the same as what we've just done. So you can do this card as well as doing it upright like that. You can also do it so it's this way round, and I have actually made a card, and I'll show you, and it's literally the same. So this is the card, and it stands up, so it's basically an easel card, but it's faceted, so it's a faceted diamond easel card, I would call this. Okay, so as you can see, so again, as I said, it's literally the same thing. So all I've done with this, different to this one, is I've done exactly the same folds as the one that you've just seen. So do everything that you've just seen, and then all you need to do is when you come to apply the acetate, don't put the acetate on, okay, because your acetate is not going to stretch from left to right. Okay, so what you want to do is do all your scores, all your folds exactly the same, stick all of your pattern pieces on, so all your pattern pieces, stick them all on the same places, okay, and then once you've done that, you then turn it round this way round, and you just want to make some kind of a frame, some kind of a wreath. So I've made one out of these feather dies. Okay, make some kind of a wreath, or if you've got a circle, whatever, something that fits, that's fine. And then I've stuck the wreath, I attached it all together so it was like a separate entity. And then on the back of it, that's where I've stuck the acetate. So I've actually stuck it from the top to the bottom underneath on the actual wreath itself, stuck my little embellishment on the front of it, and then attached it to the card. So it's literally the same card, it's just that it's the other way around. Okay, so so we've just done it this way around, and this one is just that way around. Okay, so 2 cards, the same fold, but 2 different ways of doing it. So hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, subscribe. Thank you to everybody who subscribed, and thank you to everybody who has obviously commented. You guys all seem to be loving the suspended book fold and the half-star illusion card. So that's fantastic. I'm really overjoyed that you guys love it as much as I did when I kind of came up with it. So thank you for everybody who subscribed. Yeah, please like and subscribe with this one. Let your friends know. Again, if you want to do this, just credit me on it, because as I said, it was like an original design. Obviously it's made from two different folds that are out there, but putting them together, I've not seen this done before. So if you have, then let me know, because obviously I'd like to know if somebody else has done this. But if not, that's fantastic. Just just credit me, as I said, and we'll see you next time. Bye.